Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Spider TV episode. This is Cedric from Spider Golf, and I'm here with a good friend of mine and a putting specialist, Oli Leett. We are going to talk about putting today. We're going to talk about assessing, analyzing, training, and improving your putting using both Spider Golf and the Spider Putt solution. So we're going to put him on screen. Oli, how are you? Good to have you, my friend.
Cedric, thank you for having me. Look forward to it.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about you, where you're from, and what you do exactly?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll give you the short story. I'm from Aberystwyth. That's where I grew up, over in West Wales, and I turned pro when I was 21. So I moved to Cheltenham 13 years ago at Lilybrook Golf Club. I did my training there for 3 years, and then I joined Tim Hall at Ross and White Golf Club, and Tim was or still is a top pro, and he was very keen for me to start specializing in something. So the short game was naturally where I went, and that sort of went from short game into putting, really, mainly. And sort of the rest is history, maybe. So been doing lots of digging, lots of learning the last 9-10 years, specializing in putting, and I think the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know a lot, and long may that continue.
That's the way. That's the way you dig deeper and deeper and deeper. It kind of opens up so many things when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Lots of
We've seen each
rabbit
other.
holes.
I remember we've seen each other a few certifications, and the way that we're both passionate. We want to learn. We want to make sure that we know it all. We know as much as we can, so we can best help our students.
I think, like, level of golfer for me is a bit more not really irrelevant. I think I coach all level of golfers, from tour players to beginner golfers to 7-year-olds to 70, 80-year-olds. I don't really have a preference to what golfer I coach. I think the key thing for me is to work with dedicated golfers who really want to improve, and they'll have a dream, and I help them put a plan in place to achieve that.
That's simple enough. And on the putting side, do you have steps that you go through to first, I would say, assess and then maybe analyze and get some training in place to make sure that you can evolve and evaluate all this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a system that I run through on the initial assessment. So the first time I meet them, normally 2 or 3 hours, we sit down, have a coffee, have a chat, get to know each other. I think that's very important to start with. Then we start figuring out. So I very sort of clearly have a nice whiteboard in Tickenham Golf Centre in the hub, and I write down 3 words: what, why, and how. So what do they want? How do they? Oh, sorry. What do they want? Why do they want it? And then I help them fill in the hows. So I get to know them. What do they want? Why do they want them? And then sort of start putting a plan together on how we're going to do that. So that process will test them technically. So we'll get them on the Sand Putt Lab, and then we go outside and we use Spider Putt. So that's where we introduce the app to them, and we get them onto the practice feature of the flat stick combine, which is my favorite thing to do. So as you know, I think I've got over 130 students on there now. So we're going to the flat stick combine, onto the pro. We normally go round one, which is 36 foot. Is that right? Testing
Exactly.
my 36 4,
33
33.
with a 2% right to left. Yeah.
So it's fascinating when I do this, Cedric, because it really puts them under the cosh. Normally they've gone onto the putting green and hit putts, never actually physically had to go and find a putt. So I explained, right, we've got to go and find a 33-foot putt, 2% right to left. If they don't know aim point, I'll say 2% is a medium break, 3 is a big break, and 1's a small break. So just go and find a medium breaking 33-foot putt, and all of a sudden you see the panic set in, and it's a great way for me to start managing and understanding what skills they're good at. So you've got three main skills of green reading, starting the ball on line, and speed or distance control. So the app really highlights that. So, that you could be 10 putts in and go, we've sort of misread. I know you said you're good at green reading, but you've misread the first 8. You haven't been able to find that putt. And you start having these healthy discussions and start to identify what their strengths and weaknesses are, but also it gives us a benchmark, right? So as you've got on the screen there, you've got 91%. So that would be a highly good score from my experience. So whatever score they're at, that's the benchmark. And then ideally, when they start working with me, my goal is to make myself redundant, really. And after 3, 4, 5 months, they get to a level where they can still come in and check in, but they don't need to see me on a regular basis. So that's always my goal, is to try and make myself redundant from that player from a regular basis.
That's really good. And like you said, the fact of using the feature that you have in Spider Putt. Now, for the viewers that are not aware with the Spider Putt, we've been talking about Spider Golf quite a lot. And obviously we have putting solutions in Spider Golf, but we went a little deeper with Spider Putt in putting those flat stick combine, where you have on the pros 30 putts on generally longer distances. And then the mini combine is one session of 15 putts, so twice less, and then having shorter putts, maybe more into pressure situation of having to make it. And these assessments, like Oli just said, are great to evaluate all parts of the putting that is needed to perform and to improve at a high level. You have that on the combine, but you can also, as a coach, use the free mode and therefore implement your own test. It could be just a spider test around the hole. It could be a distance progression that you're trying to implement, or any test, any favorite test that you have in your training regimens that you want to put your student into. You can do that using Spider Putt. So a great tool to analyze the reading ability that we have here by switching the cursor. There, we also have the distance control. And on the Spider Golf, we can manage the process, which is the confidence and the comfort that you put in place during the entire process to stay in the flow and get that ball where you want. So all these parameters could be assessed, then benchmark, and then train to improve those specific areas. Yet the main motivation of creating Spider Putt was to be able to give those tools to my students, our students, to be able to evaluate the putting. And Oli and I are both endpoint certified coaches. And having the method to be able to evaluate the aiming point in reference to the lateral slope, I wanted to implement that into the app and being able to provide this. And having said that, when you use the app, you have the opportunity of inputting the percentage from left to right and right to left. Easy for endpoint user, but you can also use that for non-endpoint user, where you can go all the way to the left or all the way to the right to identify left to right and right to left, and then slowly increment the percentage into your routine to specify which severity of the slope you're having most problems or tendencies. So that was the first intention, is as an endpoint certified coach, put that into an app and a solution. And then the second one was the combine that we just showed you, the flat stick combine coming from David Orr, a truly amazing and revolutionary putting coach that both Oli and I met. And he's the initial ambassador of the app, and he provided the flat stick combine, both pro and mini, being the founder of the Flat Stick Academy.
Absolute genius is that man, and doing the doing those practice drills for us. I think it represents like a round of golf, doesn't it? So the pro version has 30 putts, which is kind of close to how many rounds how many putts a pro would
Exactly.
have, and 4 rounds, like a 4-round tournament. So it's there's plenty of practice on there, and the flat stick combine is made by our top man.
Exactly. And we better write that down. We all better write that down.
Write that down for sure.
No, that's Now, when we talk about specific metrics, specific percentage make, we tend to see, or at least I do in my coaching, I tend to see amateurs that are willing to make everything. They think that they see that on TV, pros are making everything, so they have to hold it. And if they don't, it's a miss putt. Well, I think we need to readjust this. And for an information, a 50% mark on a tour player is at roughly at 8.5 feet. This is where they make 1 out of 2, which is not a very big distance, to be honest. And then 1 out of 3 is 11 to 15 feet, and then 16 to 20 feet is 1 out of 5. So where you think they make everything, in reality, they don't, and you shouldn't as well. That's why it's very important to benchmark your need and what you have to put in place to make sure that the emotions don't go crazy and you can still stay focused on your roadmap. Give you another benchmark that you can use. On a 6 handicap, the half is at 6 foot, 1 out of 2. And on the 12 handicap, the half is at 5 foot. So 5 feet, sorry. So again, you think you want to make everything, but you don't. Instead, try to focus more on avoiding those 3 and 4 putts that are killing your scorecard. And this is by having to control the ball proximity a lot better, adapting to the speed of the green and making sure that you control that speed. What do you think on that, Oli?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think managing your expectations are massive, aren't they? And I think like what the pros do very well is hole out very well from 3 to 5 feet. They hold a high percentage from that distance. But what we tend to do is watch telly, and they make it entertaining telly by seeing golfers hold those 20-foot putts all the time. And we're like, oh my God, they're holding all those 20-foot putts. And as you just said, reality is they only hold 1 in 5. And I think from that distance, your average golfer will 3-putt more than they hole it. So I'm sure you've got a stat on that. But I think, managing the distance, and I don't know about you, Cedric, but I think it's not vital to get the ball past the hole from 20 feet. And I think golfers can hit a putt 1 foot short of the hole and be annoyed. And I actually would say that's a world-class putt, because everyone will have a sort of, if you're world-class at touch, at stopping the ball where you intend to stop it, you'll stop it within 10% of the distance. So if you're 20 foot from the hole, you're going to be world-class. You stop it within a 4-foot window. Now, logic says that if you put the hole in the middle of that 4-foot window, some will go in. The ones that go, pin high or past the hole will have a chance. And the ones short are going to be close to the hole. If you were to move that window always past the hole, the reality is that the ones that are going 3-4 foot past the hole aren't going to go in anyway, because they're carrying too much speed. And then You're introducing a percentage chance of 3-putt. So I think it's one of the worst tips in golf is to never up, never in. I don't know if you have that in France, but that's a common UK term, is never up, never in. Well, I disagree. I think bring back the dustbin lid. Stop the ball within a dustbin lid. The only thing with a dustbin lid is it changes size, depends on how far away you are. So if you're 30 foot from the flag, stop it within 3 foot of the hole, and you're doing pretty damn good.
I agree 100%. It does depend, I would say, on the distance and the make expectation. Obviously, you want to give yourself enough chance, and almost all the time enough chance to make that putt on shorter distance. But on longer distance, it's all about managing, and management is control. Control doesn't mean that you have to pass the hole every time, like you just said. It's managing those 3-putt avoidance and making sure that you control your proximity. Yes, that cannot be emphasized enough. You're absolutely right. And to be honest, almost at all levels, obviously, professionals want to give themselves chances to hold those longer putts as well. But the fact of managing that strategy to ease the confidence and the comfort will actually make them stroke the putt better. The ball will roll better, and we'll get to the hole just by itself. So it's all a combination of what you need to put in place that's going to make it happen for you, instead of forcing things just by listening to a specific rule that you have to put in place and not being able to adapt around this. 100%.
Totally agree.
So, Ollie, as you know, we've had numerous conversations, some late at night with a little drink of a Bordeaux that we savor, both of us, but mainly talking about the app, of course, the solution, but the putting in general and the philosophy behind it. And you mentioned a few things that really ticked, and I want that, if you can please share that with all of us, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem. I think all good conversations after 7 p.m. have got to start with a glass of red wine.
It's a must, isn't it? Drink
Definitely.
responsibly.
Definitely. For me, said the app is a real no-brainer, and what I mean by that is, as you do, I coach a lot of good golfers who are coming through the game and want to improve. And there's a lot of inspiring golfers, 16-year-olds off scratch, who want to be tour players. And that's wonderful. You love to work with ambitious, they're keen, they love their golf and they want to be a tour player. But what, unfortunately, I don't think a lot of these golfers have is they've got a dream, but they don't know what that actually looks like. So they're a scratch golfer, they're a good player at their club, and they say, I'm going to be on tour one year. But they don't actually know what that means. And what I like to help them with is to explain what that does mean. So, to get to a tour player, you're top 10 in the world, you need a scoring average, let's say, of 69 and a half. So that might be 10 years down the line, and they need to know what their score average is now. And a lot of golfers can't tell you that to start with. And you need to then put stepping stones in between of the journey, the 10-year journey from, let's say, if you're a scratch golfer and you've got a scoring average of 77 and you need to get to 69. So you've got 8 shots over like a 10-year period. You've then got stepping stones in between to achieving those goals to get there. So like to get in the Walker Cup last year, you needed a score average of 70.3. If you had that, you'd be knocking on the door. So you need to go from scratch to a +3, +4 to start getting your wagger, to start getting into your into England golf or France golf, or into your national team, to then represent your country, to represent hopefully GBNI or in the Walker Cup, and then get onto the Clutch Tour, Challenge Tour, European Tour, to the PJ Tour. Let's not go into live conversation, but you've got like a 10-year journey there, and you need to know what you've got to achieve to get there. And without measuring, it is completely, I was going to swear then and say pissing in the wind. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, Cedric, but I could say a dream is only a dream.
True.
If you haven't got a plan. So I think you need to have a dream, and then you need to have a plan in place to know what that looks like. And you've got to measure the performance. So one of the metrics is stroke average, but then you need to go into all areas: driving accuracy, driving distance, off the tee, your approach shots, proximity, you're around the green, your proximity, and then on the green, right? You've got your make percentages. Are you holding 80% from 5 feet, or are you at 70%? If you just come to me and say, I want to hold more putts, well, that's just pissing in the wind, right? We need to know, if you got to hold 80, from 5 foot, you've got to hold 80%, right? Are you holding 65 or 70%? Okay, so you are missing a few. Are they missing left or right? Or is it pace, or is it read? And then we can start monitoring that to get that up to where we need to get to. So for me, without Spider, before that, I was really struggling to help golfers with that clear direction. And for me, it's the key source. I know, I sound a bit like I'm doing a promo for you here, and perhaps I am a little bit, but I am, extremely passionate, and I've got live examples. As I said, I've got 130 of my students on the app, and I wouldn't be using it if I didn't think it was going to help. And yeah, that's I don't know. That's my why if you're not using Spider or other stat systems, can I say that? There are other ones and good ones out there.
Of course.
I think Spider's the best, but there are other, other companies out there doing similar sort of stuff. But together you've got to get more golfers aware, I think, to improve, rather than just taking a lesson, going on the range, saying tuck your right elbow in a bit and that'll help you get better. Well, will it? Why? So that's why Spider's a big part of my life in many ways, that I'm on the apps all day, or every day anyway.
No, I really appreciate that, and I share your passion, and obviously I share your philosophy as well. We talked about, like you said, it's the road to your optimal performance, and that dream can actually be a fact, and you need to identify the goals and the benchmark to achieve that dream, and those goals and benchmark are going to be on your roadmap. And if you can clarify that roadmap, it's going to be so much easier for both the student and the coach to not only communicate, but put everything in place, monitor, and making sure that you are on the road to your success. Your success could be whatever it is, but it is your success, and everything is established. I've seen a few, an analogy on that. I've seen a few Dragon Den's episode, which I love. And what is the first thing an investor is asking to those startups? Give me your numbers. I need your numbers. Great for the emotion, great for the personality, great for the story behind it. But what are your numbers? And it's exactly the same for us as coach. We need those numbers to make sure that we can evaluate properly and assess and get that roadmap in place to give you what you want, your dream.
Definitely. No, it's cool, man. I love it. It's so, like, if I share with you a quick example with like Hartbury University have recently started using Spider Golf. And Ben, one of the chaps, is a good chipper, good player off scratch. And he has put the last 2 rounds in. So we've only had it 2 rounds. And he's a scratch golfer. He's 24. He's been, a good golfer, played golf all his life. And in those 2, it might be 3 rounds, we've identified that on his short game, on his approach chipping, that 50% of his shots go within a good distance, but the 50% that go out of that good distance are left. And we've just had a friendly discussion about this and gone, have you ever noticed that you miss left when you chip? And he said, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, it could be because it's only a small bit of data.
Right.
It could be a freak, but he's hit 18 chips and 9 of them have missed left. That can't be, I don't think that's a one-off. So, it's opened healthy discussions. We've done some start line tests on his chipping, and we've actually identified that on left to right chips, he definitely tends to underread the chip and then pulls them too much. And it's great. So we're having discussions now about reading, chips. And, one thing he also said is that, which was quite smart, I thought, which was, he said, well, if I miss on the high side, it's going to finish close to the hole. And I'm like, he's thinking it's good. So there's always like a reason behind it. So just stuff like that. I just love it. You start having healthy discussions because it's not based off, oh no, my chipping's good, I never miss left. Exactly. It's like, well, no, the app's right there. It's telling you the facts. So it's cool.
And yeah, no, that's perfect. And like you said, it's just, golf is it's a long-term sport. No matter how big your dream is, it's going to be long-term. And to keep that motivation and to know that you're staying on that road to your performance, is key. Is key to come back. Is key to keep the smile on, because God knows that at any level, and I'm sure you've all seen this on TV or anywhere else, we're not going to hit it dead straight wherever we're aiming at every time. That's just not possible. So we need to manage this. We need to manage the highs and obviously manage the lows, but making sure that stay on the same track and on the right track to get that dream is key. And those tools are helping. Like you said, there are many tools out there on the market, fantastic tools. So it's pretty much use the one that you want, use the one that you feel is most comfortable in answering all your questions and making sure that you put everything in place to get it 100%.
For sure. Should we, do you want me to share the story with the tour player now, Cedric?
Please. Yeah. Hold on. I don't know if you kept on the video or you wanted to. Okay, so I'll do, so that's perfect. So transition, we'll do that with Ellie now. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so go back in. So that's a perfect transition with your tour player that you coach at the moment. Tell us about her and the work that you've been putting in place, and tell us about her dream.
Yeah, sure. So I started working with Hayley at the start of the season, and she's a real good player, and she's been doing well. But when she came to me, her stats last year, using another stat system, I think she was -2 strokes gained on the green. So she was making cuts, but never really in contention. And just obviously losing shots on the green. So we set the plan up. We did the initial assessment. We did the Spider putt test, and we started working together. And what's been great to see using the app is you can see the progress. So this is her last 10 rounds here, where, the strokes gained has been -0.4, 0.36, we'll call it 0.4. So, the first things first is that she's definitely saving, she's improving, which is good for both of us. Because, if that wasn't getting any better, then we need to try something else or try a different coach.
Of course.
At the end of the day, it's got to be clear that we're improving. So that's good. And what's been nice as well is that using the app now, Hayley's come to see me next week. I can definitely identify what we need to work on. And Hayley's got like a pull bias. So if we were to go back to like her overall performance, just starting on the sort of inside 3 foot putts, so inside 3 feet, she's at sort of 97%, which is okay, but there's a couple missed there, which is a bit frustrating. Cut 2 left, I think, and 1 right. And then 3 to 6 feet, she's losing another 0.15 of a shot. And again, just not quite holding a fair share. So we talked about 5 foot being at 80% earlier, and she's at sort of 74%. And if we zoom in a little closer there, I think there's a few more left than right. So again, the pull bias is there, and she's losing, quarter of a shot inside 6 feet by having the odd pull. Now, what's good is with Hayley, we know exactly why that is. It's something we've worked on all year. It's always been her pattern that she's got a pull bias. So here she is. Yeah, so she certainly sort of comes out of her posture a little bit as she putts, and her trail arm does extend, so her elbow sort of straightens, if you will, and then the wrist goes into radial, which closes the club face through internal rotation of the shoulder. So when she comes to see me next week, we know exactly what we're still working on the same stuff, and we know that we've got to make it better because that pull bias is definitely there. Once we get to further distances, she's absolutely world class from like 10 foot, 6 to 10 foot, inside 13 feet. And this distance, 13, 16 feet, this is where we start to see the distance control become an issue. So there's a couple out of the magic area there, 16 to 20, few out of the area. And then 20 to 30 feet we come on to, which is definitely where she hits a lot of her shots. So she's hitting a lot of greens to this distance. And I would say that, this is the weakest area here, where she's playing some nice golf. She's hitting off the tee. She's hitting that 7-iron into the greens, 20, 30 feet. And the first putt is putting stress on her game, putting stress on those 3-4 footers, because I think on my last count on here said that 33% of her putts from 20 foot plus were outside of that 10% magic circle, as they call it. So 1 out of 3 putts is stressful. She's putting stress on her game on those short putts.
Yeah, I agree.
So sort of distance control is an issue. Why is that a distance control? It's because historically she's had a high acceleration through the ball, quite a slow short backswing, and then has this movement, movement that really accelerates a touch. Can be difficult. So, when she comes to work next week, we know what we're working on. We're working on that right arm movement, and we're working on her acceleration. Has it got better? Hell yeah, which is really good. Have we still got areas to improve?
Yeah, exactly.
We can see that
-2 to -0.36 is already a massive improvement, obviously, and I'm sure she feels it, just like you agree that you're on the right path and you're moving up, and I'm pretty sure positive strokes gain will come very soon. But also, which is important that you showed me earlier, and I'm going to put that on screen, as far as the assessing the lateral slopes that we talked about earlier with endpoint. If we focus on the 2% right to left and 3%, this is where you've mentioned where you've identified those pull bias. So not only it's interesting to see that there is a bias, but also you can singularly identify which slope and which side of the slope and which percentage of that slope is providing problems. So it's easier for the coach and the student to clearly identify what you guys need to work on.
Exactly that. There's no hiding here, is there? It's facts.
Exactly.
And, our good friend David Orr would always say that if you've got a pull bias, then your left to rights are going to be probably a little bit easier to manage. And if you've got a push bias, your right to left. And it's interesting where right-handed golfers typically think right to left are easier. And they think it's because of eye dominance or the way they stand. And I definitely don't see that. And David sort of has talked us through this, that if you've got a push bias, most golfers, what would you say, 90% of golfers have a push bias.
Yeah.
And that's why 90% prefer the right to left putts, because they're typically under reading putts, then pushing it, and it becomes a bit easier. So for Hayley, she's got a 2-3 degree pull bias. That has reduced from sort of 4. We're trending, we're moving in the right direction, but it's still difficult, especially those bigger slopes on those right to left, because you're aiming, a 15-foot putt, you're aiming a foot to 2 foot outside of the hole, and then she's just pulling it, a degree or 2, and it's just missing low all the time. So, again, can we come up with strategies for her on her green reading process? It's not necessarily a misread, but it's struggling to keep it high enough. What can we train and work on drill wise to encourage her missing high on the right to left? That's definitely the sort of the third sort of secret to the sauce there, if you will, using a David Orr term, to manage those reads and those bigger slopes. So it's great. I just love it, because it's not like we're guessing. It's not like she's been away for 2-3 months. Oh, how's it been? Yeah, it's all right. Putted all right. It's been good. No, she's come in, and I know the 3 things we need to smash.
Facts. Yeah.
Facts. Let's get to work. Cut the bullshit. Let's get into it.
And it's even easier for you, because not only you're prepared, but you're best prepared at the right time when she comes in, and she might not have enough or a lot of time to give you, and vice versa. But you want to make sure that time is 100% quality, and you can get the work done on site or even online at distance. That's also something that is very interesting. But making sure that you have those facts, so you know exactly what you guys are doing and where you are on that roadmap. Now that's a beautiful success story, and I can't wait to see how high she's going to go, and and I'll be monitoring that, as you know.
She'll get there. You know, this year she on her stats, you could pull them up at a 3-round event down at Buckingham, I think it was. The first round she was plus 0.5 strokes gain. Second round plus 0.5 strokes gain. 3-shot lead going to the last round. New experience, new situation, difficult conditions on the third day. She lost by 3 on the day, but her strokes gain putting was -6. So there was a breakdown in mentality, but also the technique broke down, wasn't strong enough. So there was more pulls. There was
comfort zone probably as well. She might not
100%.
have enough experience in that zone to be able to trust and get it going.
100%. So what's great is we know that she can do it. She can do it 2 out of 3 rounds. That last round only needs to be -2 strokes gain. She wins. So the win's coming around the corner. She's won some Rose stuff this year, but you know, LET, and then you know, see where she goes from there. But it's exciting, and it's, you know, that lesson next week. Going back to that, it's going to be the easiest lesson I've ever given because I know what I'm doing, and
exactly.
It's not, and it's not based on how I feel or I think. It's just facts, and you know, it's great. Okay, I've done the hard work beforehand, you could argue, and she's done the hard work putting the stats in. But, you know, to input a round, it takes about 10 minutes. It's not like it's a long time. And I think whatever level of golfer you are, 10 minutes after a round of golf isn't a long time if you're dedicated. And that doesn't matter if you're a 16 handicapper and you are -5 strokes gained and you want to get to -2 to get those single figures dream, or you're a 5 handicap wanting to get scratch. It's still as important for that person as it is for Hayley to go on and win on tour, you know. So yeah, amen.
Doing the right thing will get you where you want. That's for sure. And yeah, congrats to you both. I wish her the very best, and I really hope that she's gonna do what she wants as soon as possible. I know you guys are gonna work tremendously, and you keep working the way that you guys are, and it's gonna happen. So yeah, very impressed on what you guys are doing so far.
Let's be very clear here, Cedric. I don't ever hit a golf ball, so there's nothing to do with me, really. She's the one who's putting the hard work in.
No,
and
you move balls with your mind. That's even better.
Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. I'm just here to help.
So, Oli, thank you so much for sharing your dream, your philosophy, everything that you've been doing with your students from beginner to tour levels. It's truly inspiring. And like I said, it's facts. It's not just emotions. You have a roadmap, you have a clear plan, you know what you're doing, and you know how to best help your student. And we all appreciate that. And as a matter of fact, I listened to your podcast. You have a wonderful podcast channel. I encourage our viewers to have a listen. Great knowledge, great sharing experience, and all the people that you have been interviewing, sharing so much, and even giving me a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration. And it's like I said, it's passion talking, and this is where you get the most out of it. So thank you again for being with us. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Cedric, for having me. It's been great to chat to you, and yeah, thank you with the podcast. It's great. It's not you know, we haven't really got a proper job. That's what I feel like. It's not work, is it? It's you know, the podcast is awesome, talking to a load of cool people, and we're just helping really cool people try and putt a little bit better. So it's awesome, and you keep doing what you're doing, man. Like without you, I'd be lost. You know what I mean? So it's we're a match made in heaven, like a nice fine red wine or something like that, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
Read it, roll it, hold it, baby.
Let's go. There you go. Awesome. And recording.